Thanks for watching Quinte Connection. Hope you're staying safe out there. We're going to do a rewind on an interview we taped earlier on with Gerry, who's with the Belleville Theatre Guild, chatting more about the play that's currently on, 7 Stories. Let's take a look at that. So Gerry, so great to have you on the show in this capacity. Thanks so much for taking the time.
It's my pleasure.
Great to hear about the new play coming out, 7 Stories. Opens up towards the end of this month, first part of February. So how did you get roped into being the sound designer for this?
Well, I have a broadcast background. I worked in radio news for 20 years, 16 of those at CJBQ News from 81 to 97. Prior to getting into radio news, I worked in radio production, and since leaving radio, I've been doing video production and some audio production as well. So I kind of fell into it that way. I've done a few shows already. Last season, I did sound design for a play called The Rock, which was an original Canadian play, and that was nominated for an Eastern Ontario Drama League Festival Award for sound and lights. So proud of that. We created an entire soundscape of a Coast Guard helicopter rescue off the coast of Maine in a windstorm, a thunderstorm. So with sounds of the Coast Guard helicopter wind and thunder. So I've been doing that type of thing. I'm quite passionate about doing that kind of work. Just as an extra dimension to the play, 50% of what we see is the sound. Sound is 50% of our viewing experience. Watch any movie with the sound off and you'll get an idea of that.
Yeah, so walk us through the story behind 7 Stories. What is the play about this time around?
Sure. Well, 7 Stories is written by Canadian playwright Morris Panitch. It's about people standing on the edge of buildings, conversations, and of meaning itself. At its heart, it's an existential comedy. It's funny, unsettling, and deeply human. The play uses surrealism to exaggerate everyday isolation, making the familiar feel strange and revealing. The characters talk past one another, searching for validation and clinging to meaning in absurd situations. You don't need to analyze the play to enjoy it. Audiences will recognize themselves immediately. So it's especially personal for our director, Ian Feltham, because he performed 7 Stories about 25 years ago. So he's bringing a long view perspective to the work. And the show is also a longtime dream of Steve Forrester, the late Steve Forrester, who passed just a couple of years ago. He's a dearly missed stalwart of the Belleville Theatre Guild, who always believed it belonged on our stage. Steve taught at Moira Secondary and was involved in the Belleville Theatre Guild for 50 years, 50. So producing the play now for Ian Feltham, it feels like fulfilling that vision and honoring his legacy.
Well, thanks, Gerry. Well, let's continue to move on here. How did you get started with the Belleville Theatre Guild? You mentioned it was a perfect fit for your post-broadcasting career at CJBQ.
Well, interestingly enough, I worked with Bill Petch. Bill Petch is an excellent actor. He's a director. He's been on the board. Bill and I worked together at CJBQ News in the 1980s and 90s. And I knew he had studied drama in college back in Montreal, and he had worked in acting prior to joining CJBQ News. I had no interest. One day, Peter Paler of the Theatre in the Wings on Bridge Street suggested I audition for It's a Wonderful Life, being done as a 1940s radio play. This is back in 2015. And I thought, well, yeah, I think I could do that. We didn't have to study lines. We read from the script the way you would see an old-time radio play being done, in front of the microphone. Everybody gathers around the mic and reads their part. Well, I did that, and standing ovation opening night, I was hooked. So I kept on going and getting more roles. And as a community theater, you get involved in any community. It becomes a family. Some people follow hockey, others follow theater. It's really a community effort. Nobody gets paid except for the box office people. Other than that, we do everything. We build sets, we design sound, move lights, sweep the floors, change the letters on the marquee, greet people, act as ushers, operate the accessible elevator. But just going back to that first encounter with the Theater Guild, having an audition, basically there's a bunch of chairs, you have a table at the end of the room, and the director is there with the stage manager, producer, and a couple of other people. The first thing that I said when I stood up was, I don't know why I feel like I'm going to throw up. I was so nervous. And this is after doing 20 years of radio news, but it's different. When you're sitting in a studio, you're, in this case, in the Kojiko studio, you might be talking to one person or looking at a camera, and you don't know who's watching. Mm-hmm. In radio news, you go into a room and you basically talk to yourself. You could be talking to 3 people or 30,000, but it was different having to stand up in front of people to do it. But and once you getting onto stage, it's quite exciting for the first time, and then you feel the energy of the audience. You hear the applause, the laughter, and that's something that I think that's what keeps theater going. Even in this streaming age of Netflix and Amazon Prime and YouTube, people like to gather and hear stories and share that feeling together in a darkened space. It goes back to our caveman roots when the hunters and gatherers would tell stories around the fire.
Well, that's good, Gerry. Lots of information once again from the Belleville Theatre Guild. As mentioned, 7 stories on January 29th to February 15th, and all that information up at the Belleville Theatre Guild website. Gerry Freyberg, pleasure to have you on in this capacity as a sound designer, theatrical director, technical director rather, for the Belleville Theatre Guild this year. Really appreciate it, and good luck in the next coming weeks. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for the time.